he also like has this impression that he can be this intelligent person.
Yeah, the narrator identifies that when you go to New York, you're gonna end up changing and talk about your college days and
Right.
going to all these club meetings. So he has this idea that maybe he might do well there. Any other ideas? Impression. Impression. Mhm.
So I said, when you said impressions, I said his experience like positive.
He said his experience is positive. I don't know if I can agree with that.
No, like his, like when he was about to go there, he got it was positive.
I don't know if I can agree with that yet.
She's shocked by how many black people are living their lives.
There's a bit of shock. Let's go into today's discussion about how black people
I was
live
just
their
about to
lives.
say that.
He is, this is an uncomfortable space for our narrator. Because our narrator is from where? The South, which is the reason why if you look at the agenda for today, we're gonna kind of talk a little bit about the North versus the South. Before we even get into the things that the narrator saw, what are some clear distinctions about the North versus the South pre-civil rights movement? What are some things that you know using your historical context? You guys have finished all your history in high school, which means you should have covered in American history. Some ideas of the North versus the South. What are some clear distinctions pre-civil rights movement?
No.
So right.
Before pre-civil rights movement. What do we know about the North versus the South? And not slavery.
They were better
The civil rights movement. You said they were better. Where?
in the north.
Why?
And were there
What does that mean?
more free will?
Let's define the South. His road up to New York from the Southern College. How do you get there?
Train, subway.
How do you get there?
Bus, subway,
Bus.
bus.
What is the clear distinction between the North and the South as it relates to even the bus?
Just yeah.
They don't have money for
No,
What?
The seating arrangement?
seating arrangement.
Um,
Because on his way up from the South and he took the bus, where do you have to stay? Was the bus empty or was the bus full? It's not full. This is an empty bus going to the north. However, because he was black, he had to sit
In the back.
in the back of the bus with only two other passengers. Whereas in New York, are there seating arrangements? There are not. Because the North, although this is before the Civil Rights Movement, which identifies that integration needs to happen nationwide. Up north, they have those things. There was no colored section in New York. Everybody just intermingled. What else is a clear distinction between the North and the South?
With this riot happening, he was like questioning why the police wasn't like doing anything.
Yeah, and it really wasn't a riot per se. It was more like an aggressive protest. But up north, you saw black people very comfortably talking, arguing, protesting, speaking out, having a voice. Whereas in the South, his only experience was that black people had to live inside of a confined box. Black people had to do what, in essence, what's his name? The president identified as appropriate in his small community. So let's talk a little bit more about this. While in New York, the narrator struggles to understand himself as well as his own identity outside of his college. Why does the narrator get off the train prematurely? Now remember, I just identified the transportation expectations are very different from the South to New York, because in the South, black people have to sit in the the back, the colored section. Whereas up north, when he gets on the train, people are sitting where? Sitting everywhere, sitting, standing, all the things. However, we notice that when the narrator gets on the train, he immediately gets off very prematurely. He doesn't even make it to his stop. Why does he have to get off the train?
This was fast.
Why?
Oh, because of the uncomfortable, when he's something about some lady, I think he touched the
He
lady.
bumped into a white woman. Why does that cause him to get off of the train?
Because it's dangerous.
he feels like it's dangerous. Again, going back to that northern versus southern mentality. As a southern man, you know you don't talk to white people unless you are supposed to, in the case of Mr. Morton. You don't touch them, which is the reason why we had that long discussion about Dr. Bledsoe's intentionality with shaking white people's hands, because it showed off his power. Because in reality, you don't do that down south. You don't shake hands, you don't pat back, you don't rub elbows, you stay away. However, in the north, even though the environment is different, the narrator is still the same. So he's freaking out. Bump into a white woman, which all of us have taken the metro at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
That happens, does it not?
Yep.
People are just moving, so you might brush elbows with somebody, accidentally stumble, fall on someone. But he cannot remove his fixed southern perspective. We also get introduced to this character, Ross. Somebody asked me about Ross in the, I think it was chapter 1. They're like, who's the Ross person that they're referencing? You would later find
Okay.
out it is this person. Who is Ross? Who was Ross in this chapter? Write the book open, close the book. He is the riot speaker, Ross the exhorter, as he is known, because he is an orator, he is a speaker. And what is Ross doing when we, the reader, meet him? And what was his message? We know he is a speaker, so he was probably doing what?
Speaking.
Speaking publicly on the side of a street. But what was his message? What was Ross's message? Huh?
The separation of black and white.
Yes, so that is what you call the black nationalist objective. Black nationalists were people who believed that integration was harmful for black people. So when we think about this down south, what do we already notice? In the culture, in the community. We just talked about it, think about buses, think about the school environment.
The races.
Huh?
The races. Races.
You're saying racist, that's not a definition of what I'm asking. What happens down south?
Separation.
People are separated because of the Jim Crow law. However, when the narrator comes to the north, where things are so progressive, he hears Roz preaching about what? Speaking and arguing about, right, he just came from this. However, up north, they don't like being with white people. They have the freedom that the South wants, right? But these black nationalists are like, no, let's go back to the way things used to be. Let's not be together. Let's separate ourselves, even though this narrator is like, this is uncomfortable because I live in this environment and this actually isn't good. So you have Rob the exhorter who's like, nah, man, black is beautiful. We should only hang out with black. We should only shop black. We should only kick it with black. We shouldn't be around white people, yes.
So the narrator, is he like uncomfortable with the truth?
Is that the truth? That's my question to your question. Is it, and again, these are different philosophies. During the civil rights movement, there were many black people who said, we do not need to be separate but equal. We just need to be treated like normal folks. And then there were people who were like, no, leave us alone. Let us have our own black world and let's just be happy. And that's what Roz was pushing. He was like, we're in New York working with these white people. Let's not be around them. And the narrator's like, when did a black man have enough power to even say that? Because black people in his context have never rejected white people. In the South, who rejects who? White people in the South reject black people. It's never been the opposite way. And I think the narrator is uncomfortable because he's never seen that power. He's never seen outside of Dr. Bledsoe, black men and women having the freedom to speak their mind. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, that liberty to give your opinion on the side of the road, on the side of the street, on the side of a building, at the metro, whatever, you can't do that down south without some repercussions or something from white people. But these people in New York speak freely, they don't care. Why does the narrator want to go home? In the chapter he identifies, I want to go back down to the top. I need to get out of here. Why go back? Why does he wanna go back?
I don't know if it's like something,
Right.
to be the celebrity from coming to New York, something like that.
I don't think it has to do with any type of celebrity. Think about his encounter with Rod. Think about the train ride. What would make him want to go back?
Well, because he had like a mini culture shock. And like,
Absolutely. In this chapter, this is really our presentation to the narrator's culture shock. He can't handle how progressive it is. It's too much change too soon for him. The fact that he could even brush a white woman and not get in trouble for it. The fact that black people are arguing for their rights and not get in trouble for it. The messaging that you heard from the veteran to him was a lot of information and it was a lot of change too quickly for him. So I want to actually unpack a little bit of the veteran doctor's messaging. And I would like to do that after this last question. I asked you guys to read the hero's journey before we started it. Should be in your teams. I first want to know, where is he on his journey? What stage do you think he's on? Crack it open, look at the document. What do you think?
You got mine.
The unknown, I think, would be the best place for him at this point, because he's had a culture shock. Are there any other places he could be on his journey?
I think the rejection of the journey.
Yes. My man is like, I don't want to do this New York thing. I don't. Can I just go back home? Let me just be in trouble. Maybe I can take the embarrassment of my family. And then, what can you predict about his experience in New York, given the fact that we know he's on a journey? What do you think is going to happen while in New York? Given the fact that he is on a hero's journey.
He's gonna get a job.
You think he's going to get a job? Think big picture. Your awareness of the hero's journey means that there's going to be several progressions. What do you think is going to happen in New York?
You're gonna have the same mindset, maybe?
You think New York is going to be where he gets his new mindset? Any other thoughts?
Like more challenges.
In order to get a new mindset, you probably have to look at some challenges. Anything else? Any other ideas?
Meets people.
Probably will be people. That happens when you move to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Any other ideas going once? Any other ideas going twice? Turn and talk to a friend. There are 3 things I want you to look at. Number 1, what does the quote, "For God's sake, learn to look beneath the surface. Look how it operates. Learn how you operate." What does that quote mean? How does this quote relate to the theme of identity? And finally, what does the veteran doctor warn the narrator about New York? You have a couple minutes before we get into today's writing. I'm giving you a page number so you can kind of narrow down your discussion. You close on?
That's what.
Mom. You gonna carry it?
Right there.
Put the book on here, bro.
Alright, so
Yo, how was I up? Yeah, you good, man?
what should it be?
You
said
good?
what?
How was I hop? Yeah, you good?
I was what?
I hop.
Oh, you know me.
What'd you get, bro? What'd you get?
I got chicken waffles.
Chicken, what was? Oh, you did tell me that. You said that.
I've been stressing.
What does that quote mean?
153.
For God's sake, learn and look beneath the surface. I think it's learn to look beneath the surface. That means like under your skin.
You talking about theology? Yeah.
What about?
You talking about theology?
Oh, beneath the skin, get under the skin.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kevin? It's to find yourself. That's why it's identity. It's to learn about yourself, to learn about beneath your surface. But
Is it like,
Where?
like,
Thank you.
that's the thing. I'm not even looking.
You're not even looking? I thought you saw it. Or you just going off with from there?
Yeah. Where's it at? I can't find it.
It's at the bottom.
For God's sake.
Come out of the ball.
Where is it?
How does this relate to the theme of
You're
identity?
saying you don't have to fake it to make it.
Basically, oh yeah, play the game, but
Where's the code?
bottom.
Well, so what's the context?
It's usually like he's telling him that like, because you know how like they have this thing, just like going believing everything.
Everything they
Yeah.
did.
Students don't always trust that students.
Like go out and look for the evidence yourself, or like go out and
Like,
find out
go
the
out.
truth.
Go
Go out and find the truth yourself.
like don't
Play the game. It says play the game, quote unquote. Play the game and play it your own way.
How
Like
does
just be your own.
how does this relate to the identity?
Like,
Which relates to the theme of identity
So
because it's
this relates
saying
to the identity because like you gotta keep to yourself.
be yourself,
Be yourself.
keep
Be
yourself,
yourself.
Like don't put on the mask.
play your own game.
Like don't put on the mask.
Another word.
You're doing that, but how are you gonna read after that?
Another word.
Well, I'm never gonna read this again.
Do what you gotta do, but at the end of the day,
Be yourself.
be yourself, but succeed on whatever.
Alright, how about that?
Like I might have a different way of thinking. Back in the day, you both with her.
What is a veteran doctor warned in their care about?
What does the veteran doctor want? Wait, what's that? Where's that at?
Oh,
I think it's in the
the
beginning.
one that he's not dancing with the girl.
Oh,
Huh?
Chuck.
No, he wants to die. Oh, he's gonna change. I'm a big kid.
When does the veteran doctor?
He's gonna change. He's gonna be a different
Where did you say that?
I'm just saying.
Boy.
Common sense.
Comes.
Trust me, bro. Maybe.
Oh yeah, it says right here your speech will change, whatever the fuck.
Back on top. My bad. Told you, bro. I'm here, bro.
I think it's here.
You guys should all be at least in question 3.
152. Number 3. Oh, I don't even know if it's about that. Is this the doctor? Yeah. He said, I can see for 3 months your speech will change. You'll talk a lot about college. You'll attend lectures. Is that what he's warning him about? No.
He also said like,
You might even dance with a white girl.
he also said like later on, he was like he's kind of like saying like, you might have a little too much free will, and you might do something bad.
That's good. That's good. I think you should say that. That's good. That's good. I would say that. Can I steal that?
No, but I don't think that's right. Though. It's just like,
So now, right?
All right, my love. Already read it.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I like to read it with you guys.
Me too.
You just like recap.
Well, yeah, because like, I make the lessons and the questions like during summertime, but then I have to remember why I made it, and I reread the story. Yeah, and I bought this book, I want to.
All the books you've read so far,
Yeah, like I gave this book, I haven't read it, I bought this book. I want to-
So you already know how it's about to end?
And then I teach it in my Black history class.
And that's my man.
Huh?
And that other book too.
Now, this is my first year teaching Black history.
Oh,
So I read it this summer for the first time, and I did it for another class, which is awesome. I think you guys can enjoy it. So hard to read, but it's, this topic.
I like this one. I like this one.
All right, let's talk about it. That's why I have bookmarks like all over the book.
Yeah, same.
What does for God's sake? Learn to look beneath the surface. Learn how it operates. Learn how you operate. What does that quote mean?
Okay.
What does that quote mean? Look beneath the surface. Look how it operates, and learn how you operate. Ruth.
I think it's for them to look beyond what he thinks is going to learn from what he's done and to kind of do things on his own regardless of how he used to do things before and how other people around him do things before.
All right, so you're saying he needs to learn a little bit more about himself to figure out how the world around him works. Yeah, Kelly.
Yeah, like come out of yourself, come out of your bubble, and like find out things like yourself, and like don't just take everyone's the way that everyone tells you something is. Don't like
Okay,
find out yourself. Yeah.
Find out for yourself. I like this, the part of it, and I highlighted it specifically, learn to look beneath the surface.
I like that too.
Looking beneath the surface means, beyond taking somebody's actions or, maybe reading into their words. It's also being observant. That's one of the things that you all will learn as you transition from teenagehood to adulthood. That what somebody tells you might be contradictory from their behavior, their routine. It's very easy for somebody to be like, I'm not a sexist, but anytime a woman speaks, they're consistently cutting them off. Or, I'm not a racist, I got two black friends. Or, I really love you. What's the last book you read? It's been a couple years. People's behaviors will indicate if their words actually have validity to it. So looking in between them. Now, how does this relate to the theme of identity? How does that correlate to identity? Learn how it operates, learn how you operate.
You gotta learn yourself.
Absolutely. It's really easy, especially as young people, to be who you've been because you didn't really have many choices to make for yourself. But when it comes to this idea, this theme of identity, what you're going to see is now kind of a new idea that's being presented, idea that's being presented in our text. You'll notice that the way you learn who you are is by the choices you make. It's by the things you're interested in, and then what those interests manifest. You guys are about to be adults. Even if your age says you're an adult already, you're about to be an adult in the sense that you're going to be living in a world, whether you're in college or moving out of your parents' house or going to tech school or whatever, when no one's going to call mom and be like, hey, is it okay for blank? Because your age indicates that you make decisions. Banks will give you guys loans. You can destroy your credit or build your credit. Every choice that you make no longer directly impacts your parents. It may hurt them, but those choices are your choices. So figuring out how you operate, learning yourself, is the first step to forging who you become now. Finally, what does the veteran doctor warn the narrator about New York? What was his major warning?
Warning.
He's gonna be different. He's gonna,
He does mention differences.
Would it have been when you were saying how like boys like him that come alone end up getting like committing a crime or getting accused of a crime that they didn't do?
Yeah, so it keep going, it ties into a warning he gives. What is his warning? Here it is. Somewhere on page 153. Excuse me?
Okay.
Someplace on 153. Marco,
then he says you don't have to be a complete fool in order to succeed.
that's not the warning, but you're right near it.
Play the game,
But,
but don't believe in it.
thank you. His warning about New York is play the game but don't believe it. What do you think that means? What is the game?
The game.
Society.
When we began today's class, I started with North versus the South. What do you think the game is?
Being black, being white, choosing what side to be on.
Not choosing whether to be black or white.
Life.
What do you think the game is in New York? Think about the lesson, the little tidbits I talked about, North versus South.
Separation.
The changes.
What about separation? What about the changes?
Quality.
What's the game? You're walking down a good street, Diego.
To be as equal as possible.
In New York, what is the norm?
Right.
And that everyone is,
Equal.
right? So the game is, you can play that game. We are all perceived as equal. Don't believe it. Meaning what?
Don't,
It's foolish.
yeah.
Don't get too comfortable, because in New York, the world looks so progressive. It's this beautiful dream. But don't get so comfortable that you forget you are a black man. Don't be so comfortable as to forget that this is not 100% real, which means racism, and again, pre-civil rights movement in New York, in Boston, in Chicago, in DC, The world looked a lot nicer than it did maybe in Alabama, because, well, the South was just a terrible place. But there was still racism. It just was a little bit more covert. Meaning it wasn't in your, yeah, it wasn't in your face. By the way, every time we enter a new chapter, if you find examples of masking, you can use it. Wait, after the all right.
Which one?
So with that being said, let's jump into your introduction. As we discussed yesterday, your motif analysis is going to be all about
Basket.
masking. So independently, I know if I let y'all work in teams, you're getting nothing done.
No, we are.
Tonight's assignment, even though I'm not requiring you to submit it on Teams, finish your introduction. Finish it. Because this is going to be a 5-paragraph essay.
That sounds like.
Our mid-quarter essay, this one is going to be 5 paragraphs. So that means you don't have time to waste because they're progressively getting longer. So today in class, because we have about like 8 minutes left, 8, 9 minutes left. I want you to focus on the introduction. It is the shortest part of your paper, but is the most essential. So instead of doing what you guys always do, I'm giving you directions. Do not go on a Google deep dive for the world's best quotes. Please don't do that. Y'all do it like great quotes about masking. Let that go.
Like the intro?
Let it go. Start your intro with your thesis statement. Because your thesis statement is the more important part. Hope we can add later. Thesis statement lets me know these are what each paragraph is going to be about. So if I can knock that out today during class, the rest of my homework is going to be easy. Right? So I want you to develop your thesis statement, which means you need to look at what areas of masking will be in your 5 paragraphs. So to do that, pull up your homework from last night. Look at the quotes that you wrote for last night. Look at the one you may have just pulled out from today's reading. And say, from these quotes, I think I can build a really good argument about masking on this thing, this thing, and this thing. Pick your 3 things. Once you take those 3 things, you can start building the rest of your outline. Remember, a strong thesis statement asserts your opinion objectively. What do I mean by objectively? You know what words?
I.
No I or me. No
Okay.
I.
Yeah.
A strong thesis statement asserts your opinion, but it gives you a little bit of breathing room. You don't want to be so focused that you can't write about what you need to. And then finally, provide your thesis statement with examples of your motif. Those 3 recurrences that you're going to narrow down. You had to pull 6 out of yesterday's. See what the 3 main ideas were in that 6. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So be like, okay, I'm gonna do this one about masking. I'm sorry. We're gonna do this about, let me finish what I'm doing. I don't need you to tell me exactly what. You are gonna find, what do these 6 things have in common? It has this one thing, then this one thing, and then this one thing. Make sense? All right, guys, you have 7 minutes left. Let's get to work on your introduction.
Dang it. I killed the vibe.
I'm not trying to be rude. Hey, look, I have things to do. So when visitors come, guess what they have to do? They have to wait. Why? Because you're more important. What we're doing here is more important than, let me stop teaching to go talk to somebody. That is not about me being rude to you. They can't wait. Make sense? Go. Your time, guys. Let's build this introduction. Start with the thesis. Do not go looking for hooks. Do those parts of homework. That's easy. Build that thesis with your 3 areas of masking. That will give you a clear navigation for the rest of your paper. What do you mean by how? Because if I look at all my quotes and I see that I'm going to talk about white masking, black masking, or I'm going to talk about masking emotions, I'm going to talk about masking intentions, I'm going to talk about masking blame. If I know those 3 things, then I can go back and be like, I want to write a really good hook using a poem, using Dunbar's poem, or using this other really great quote by another Black person. And then I'm going to give background information on why people don't show their emotions. My background information is contingent on what my essay is going to be about. The only way I know what my essay is going to be about is through my thesis. So if I start with that sentence, I can build everything else around it. that make sense?
Yep.
So again, what areas of masking are we talking about? Racial masking, why people, the intention behind masking, you name it.
And we're just writing about masking. Like we're not saying anything.
What do you mean?
Like it's like
The motif that we're talking about is masking in these two books.
and that's
So you're
okay.
gonna write a paper either, that's why I gave an example, you can write a paper about why Black people mask and 3 different ways they do it. You can write a paper about the need for masking, so like hiding your emotions, hiding your intentions, hiding blah, 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 blah. You can write an entire paper about how white people mask.
Okay.
Like, you can go in any direction, I'm not limiting it, but the motif is masking in the book is what you have to use.
Alright.
Think about what you wanna write about and then find that thesis statement somewhere in here.
What are you gonna do? Wouldn't it be easier to do like black masking, white masking, and then you just like another one?
I'm doing
You said what?
I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna show you.
Caleb, you okay, bro? You okay? Alright, I'm about to cook some up real quick, you know me. Warm it up, man.
Reasons why African people, black people, some just feel like there are many reasons why black people would mask their emotions,
So you're gonna talk about black people?
intentions, and cultural identity to try to appease the majority race.
That sounds good. The 3 examples, what were the examples? Culture identity. That's good. To please white people, that's good. Yeah, you should do that. You should write that down right now. Don't forget it. Of the many ideas presented in these themes, masking is a pervasive motif of things employed. Being with introduction to develop this right, but areas of masking with my pyramid techniques. A strong thesis statement asserts your opinion. But like, are we putting our opinion? To give you room to build. Let me just write blah blah.
Okay. do your homework. Remember,
Yeah.
you need to read because the next chapter will be on your quiz tomorrow.
What's the quiz tomorrow about?
Everything after chapter 8
And the words?
on the board.
All right. Bro, I'm locking it in, bro. Quiz tomorrow gonna be